Hey YouTube! I've been at the Bucky again. Bucky bass this is. So this is a Bucky jazz bass. I think I've done a Bucky jazz bass before. I'm not sure. So this is number 34 of the Bucky series. I've definitely done an Iron Brew jazz bass. Not 100% sure on the Bucky one. So it might be the world's first Bucky jazz bass. There's not very many basses. There's maybe, out of the 34, there's maybe 4. 5. The last one I did a couple of weeks ago. It's now in Birmingham. I had it sold in 10 minutes as usual. So this one is going to the Blitzkrieg shop in the Savoy Centre. If you want to go and have a wee look at that. Yeah. So jazz bass set up. Did a wee bit of fancy wiring in it, trying to not go too mental. So trying to keep it a bit simple. So basically, it's got a push-pull pot on the volume control. But if you don't pull that up, it's a jazz bass, standard. So I'm not a big jazz bass. I'm always like, if you've got the choice of a jazz bass or a P bass, I would prefer a P bass because I always felt the neck on a jazz bass felt dead small. But this one either isn't really small, or I'm just used to playing lots of different basses now. Because I'm going back, maybe 20 years when I had a P bass and my pal had a jazz bass. So every time I played his, it was like, oh, it's pure thin, weakling, you know what I mean? If you play a bass, you want. I just don't. I think maybe that was only because I basically only ever played my bass or my pal's one. So now because I've got all these and stuff, it's not really small. That was one of those things that I really think. Well, the jazz bass with the super skinny nuts and the P bass with the massive thick nut. It was like when you actually buy the nuts, they're 40mm or 42mm. So there was only a 2mm difference between what I was classing as huge and really too small, and it's like it's 2mm. You really notice these differences. This is, I couldn't, if you handed me this and didn't let me touch the knobs or anything like that, I couldn't have told you whether this was a P bass or a jazz bass neck. That might mean it's somewhere in the middle, or was just hyperactive imagination beforehand. So with a jazz bass, you get 2 pickups, 2 volume controls, and a master tone. To get what I always think is the best way of getting a jazz bass pickup, so I'll put this is the bridge pickup on it, the neck pickup on its own. Take the tone down. I'm not sure if you're listening to this on your laptop or your phone, you might hear the bass. Bass doesn't really tend to come through that well. Hopefully this the decent mic and stuff, it should be there if you put headphones on or something like that. Turn back up again. Then you've got the bridge pickup. And you get them both on. What I always think with the jazz bass pickups, see if you roll down one of them a little bit, you get a wee sweet spot there. It sounds like a P bass. So I've done it back up, I've run back up again, and the special switch I was talking about basically knocks the two of these into series, so you got like a humbucker sound. So there's just both pickups on. It's like a super boost, even though it's not actually a boost, it's basically just running them both as a humbucker. A bit more powerful. Jazz bass. checking there is when you're running in humbucker mode, this is your master volume control instead of just being for the neck. But also this one does work as well, so you can actually be in humbucker mode and then turn this one off, which basically is sort of just the same as not having it on, but so you've got like a variable amount of how much this pickup goes into this one. When it's pushed in, it's a jazz bass, so it's a volume for the two pickups. So there's probably a bit of I'll turn this one down. Does it make no difference? I'd say it does. Yes, so Bucky Jazz Bass, go and try it out in Blitzkrieg Shop. The website, if they're on Facebook and the website there, it's I'll put a link down there somewhere. I think it boils down to, again, the biggest problem I've got with the jazz bass is the fact it's called a jazz bass and jazz is horrible. Maybe actually, to be totally fair, it's like, have I actually listened to jazz at all since I was like 16 when I decided that I blanket just hated it all? I have not. So maybe, I mean, there's that Spinal Tap thing where they're talking about it and it's like, it's all the wrong notes. And there is a skill in being able to play every single note wrong, which was jazz just seems to be. I never understood it. It's one of those things that I think maybe I always figured it was for somebody who was really, who could play music, who would understand what was going on. It's not like for a normal person, you know, like the way rock and roll is. It doesn't, oh, God gave rock and roll to you, so you just listen to it, you go, that after 2 seconds you're like, oh yeah, I've got it. Whereas jazz, it's kind of like, is this enjoyable? Is this, what is this? I don't know. But that's obviously, jazz basses is like, it's just a name for it. It didn't really work that way, because you look at all the people that play jazz basses and lots of them are in jazz. Famous jazz players are just basically pretty much everybody. Did Flea not play one at one point, and Geddy Lee at a Rush, and the list is too long really for anything. It's like a sort of 50-50 chance whether someone played a jazz bass or a P bass. My view on it, well, actually, see, because it's got the super humbucker mode, in some ways it's actually better than a P bass when you've got the humbucker mode. But I always feel like the way to get the P bass volume is you turn both volumes up and then you turn the bridge one down a little bit, and it ends up sounding like a P bass. When you've got the neck pickup on its own, it doesn't quite P. Just need a wee bit of that in there. And then obviously if you're popping and slapping and stuff, the bridge pickup is what you want for it. And I don't pop and slap. I don't. No, I'm not even going to attempt to do it. There's not really any music I like that's got it in it. I mean, obviously I can totally admire Les Claypool. It's fantastic, but I mean, I not really get any desire to play like that. Partly because it just sounds really, 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 really hard and difficult. So not bothered by that. Anyway, so for sale, Blitzkrieg shop in the Savoy Centre. Go and have a look at it. Hopefully this will be in the window. Rock on.